Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 256, and I had a conversation with Ben Ewing. He's worn many hats in his lifetime in the record producer arena, television arena, advertising arena. He's worked with comedians and writers, and most recently he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And so I asked if he would be interested in coming on the show and talking about that experience and what his thoughts have been around that diagnosis and what the inevitable means to him. And he was very kind and open and sat down with me, he in Nashville, me here in Los Angeles, and discussed just all things Ben, where he's been and where he's going. And I very much think he embodies that Dylan Thomas, rage against the dying of the light. He certainly has lived a lot of life, and he ain't slowing down too much, maybe a little, but he's definitely eking out as much as he can with what he has left. Very admirable, and he's a funny, nice man, and I have not yet met him in real life. We have several mutual friends. I'm hoping soon I will get to give him a hug and say hello in the real world, in the 3D world. Interesting stuff for me this week. I went to an acupuncturist, and it was so cool. I've only done that one other time in my life. I forgot how amazing it is. If anybody out there has not done it, I highly recommend it. It's incredible and very relaxing. So I'm just putting that out there. Okay, usual stuff, social media, Hey Human Podcast, Instagram and Facebook. You can find my personal Instagram and Facebook and Twitter under Susan Ruthism. Go to susanruth.com if you want to learn more about me in general and sign up on the mailing list. Go to heyhumanpodcast.com. You'll find the links page with information about every episode and my guests and what they're talking about and what books they're writing or reading or articles and all that kind of stuff. Definitely check that out. There's also a storefront. You can buy Hey Human merch, help support Hey Human. Another great way to support Hey Human Podcast is to rate and review it on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, because believe you me, it makes a huge difference. So if you have a minute, please go rate and review the show. You can email me, Susan at heyhumanpodcast.com. I answer every email. And thank you. Stay safe, everybody. Take care of each other. Be kind. And let's get into this. Here we go. Ben Ewing, welcome to Hey Human.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You and I met over the phone, but we have many mutual friends, Shannon and Steve. And yeah, you've been in Nashville.
Even more we haven't discovered yet.
Oh, I'm sure. And you're in Nashville currently, yes?
Yeah, I actually live in Mount Juliet, which is east of Nashville, about 30 miles. But you have to consider you know how Nashville works. It's like Davidson County's in the middle and there's this hub, and that's Nashville.
Yeah.
Or what people believe is Nashville.
I like Mount Juliet. There's some cool little art galleries in Mount Juliet.
Yeah. Mount Juliet is growing leaps and bounds, and Lebanon, the county seat, it's got a good vibe to it. Lots of art. Lots of things. Yeah.
It's growing. By the way, you have a fantastic mustache. You probably get that all the time.
Well, the mustache has a long history of remarks about it and people that know about it. And one of them is Sam Elliott.
It looks like a Sam Elliott mustache. I think you might have a better mustache than Sam Elliott.
Well, I've worked with a songwriter named Billy Joe Shaver. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I am, yes.
But him and Robert Duvall are really good friends. Well, they were really good. Billy Joe just passed away about 3 or 4 months ago. But they were doing a movie, I can't remember what movie it was, but Sam Elliott was in it with Robert Duvall. And I picked up a gig by being a stand-in, sitting in a chair. So, so I got to meet him, Sam Elliott, nice guy. So the mustache does work. It's trimmed down a pretty good bit now, but it gets out there.
I love that you have on your resume Sam Elliott's mustache stand-in.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
That's fantastic.
All right, got that.
Did you grow up in Tennessee?
I grew up in Kentucky. I was born in Muhlenberg County, Kentucky, Greenville. Daddy wants to take me back to Muhlenberg County. John Prine, I grew up there, and then I lived overseas for about 3.5 years. I was in the service. I was in the last draft, and I managed to get in the Air Force. So that gives away my age. Big time.
Did you fight in Vietnam?
I was there, but luckily I didn't have to pull the trigger, shoot anybody. I was in the Air Force, and I was in communications. I actually worked in the embassy in what they call the communication switch at that time. So I saw all the news, good, bad, and indifferent.
Did you have to? I know that there was a disconnect between news and what was going on. There was a sense of trying to protect America from the true horrors of Vietnam. How was that in the station that you were in being a communications person?
Well, it still goes on today. Of course. It's this very second. So from the standpoint of back then, I was 19 years old. So my perspective was already much different. It wasn't exactly like I had reached full adult maturity, if you will, in regard to understanding politics and while we were in the position we were in. Now, I know now completely, and it's pretty amazing how you can use that ideology of protecting America, the citizens of America, blah, 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 from whatever we're protecting ourselves from, or we might get a bit too aggressive sometimes with things that we do. And I think the process, at least from my perspective, so much has actually changed since I was there, because it was so long ago. But at the time, there's a newspaper they put out every day throughout the military called Stars and Stripes. You ever heard of it?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And I remember reading a story in Stars and Stripes that was completely untrue. And the reason I knew is I had transmitted the truth 24 hours before. They had this thing called the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They had, the Vietnam War was a mess, as most wars are. Most wars are a mess. Anyway.
How was that coming back from that, given how, unfortunately, the soldiers felt the brunt of America's distaste for the war? They were doing their duty. They were drafted. Some volunteered, of course, but the fact that America took it out on those who had returned home. Did you experience that?
I didn't really experience it myself. I had friends that did. I think a lot of that had to do with it was regional, at least from what I remember about it. I don't think too many people from the South had to deal with that. I think the Northeast, probably out in the West a bit, in larger metropolitan areas, I'm sure.
That makes sense.
I don't, but I personally didn't experience it, but I know it existed. I think a lot of people are totally educated now from respect to how did I end up there? Well, first of all, I was told to go.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of how it works. I mean, if you're already obligated and you're in the service, just like somebody can go enlist today. I mean, that's really never changed. They still don't pay enough money.
Right.
Bad teachers, isn't that awful?
I know. Honestly, the back end of being in the military is disturbing at best. It's a lot of good talk heading in, but how they care for people coming out is a whole other story.
Oh, yeah. And, I guess I should keep up with it even more than I kept up with it before, but, I don't. I have other things that are kind of chasing me around.
Sure. Did you go to college on the GI Bill?
Yeah, I did. I went to the University of Maryland in London, England. The University of Maryland has always had a worldwide education system. I think it's called they just recently changed it. Whereas they have campuses in Munich, Tokyo, London, and you can be a part of that. And the military has been tied into that, since World War II, Korean War. So, yeah, I went to the University of Maryland, graduated. Had never put my foot on the campus, never communicated with anybody face to face there. And of course, when I was in the service, I graduated from the University of Maryland in 1976 there in London. And 30 days after I graduated, I was back here discharged. That's just kind of how it worked out. So,
interesting.
And I had a very good duty assignment. I was in Vietnam 120 days. That's all they let my particular career group stay. Then they send you off. And the typical places that you would show up for your next duty station were London, Istanbul, Munich, where they had big communication centers. And I happened to get London, and I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, London's fun.
Yeah, I was there for 3.5 years. Loved it.
London in the 70s, I bet that was extraordinary.
Loved it.
Especially the music lover, which you are. So
unbelievable. I mean,
yeah.
I saw the majority of people that like the Rod Stewarts and the Rolling Stones and those people. That's where I first saw them. Like Rod Stewart, the first time that I saw Rod Stewart, he played the marquee, held 150 people. And he was in there playing. He was playing with the Faces. So, yeah, I could talk to you about that 3.5 years of my life per day.
What was the best concert you saw while you were in London? Do you remember?
Long John Baldry. I don't know if you know.
I don't.
Look him up. He was an influence on Elton John, lots of people like that. The real great ones. It was something else. He put out a couple of records over here, but as far as somebody that me personally, it just blew my mind, it was him. I mean, I've seen the Stones in a club with 500 people.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. David Bowie, Nick Ronson. Yeah. I saw all of that in smaller theaters and larger clubs. There was a club in London called the Roundhouse that was round. And it was the switching center for trains, where you turn how you originally turned the trains around. Mm-hmm. Well, they turned that into a club. and they called it the Roundhouse. And I saw them in there. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So cool. I bet you have a hella cool record collection.
Yeah, I would say I do. I got a lot of vinyl. Of course, I always did have. I've got, gosh, I've probably got a room that's 400 square feet. That it's not, all the stuff's just not stacked up pretty and all that. And I've got 2 big clip speakers in the corner. That's how I play stuff.
I love that.
I'm not in my spot, or I'd play for you.
I bet it's something.
Oh, yeah, that's fun. Yeah. I used to produce a lot of records and that. So I've always been in love with the music business and music. So,
Is that what you studied in college, or did you study business?
No, I have a degree in business administration. No, haven't taken one lesson. I play drums. I probably could sit down and play them again, but it'd probably kill me. I probably just couldn't do it.
Yeah. So how did you then transition out of college and go into things like, because you've been in the film business, the TV business, and the music business?
Well, I can kind of give it to you in little bites here. When I got out of the service and I came back to the United States, I took a job with Capricorn Records, which was the Allman Brothers, Bill Walden, and people like that. And I knew a couple of people that kind of got me through the door, but enthusiasm's what got me the gig. And I knew a lot about music anyway. I knew how to play it. So that's kind of where I started the music journey. And then Capricorn started phasing down in about 1979 or 1980. And I was working directly with Phil Walden, who owned Capricorn, as his, I always called myself the ears. He always wanted me to listen to everything everybody was saying. He didn't want me to say anything, but he wanted me to keep up with it. And it was a good plan. And from there, I worked with him for a couple more years. And along the way, I got into the management business myself, and I worked with a comedian you might know, Rodney Dangerfield. I worked with Rodney for 3 years.
I just interviewed Alan Zweibel, who wrote some of Rodney's very first jokes and things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And basically, I did more of the PR thing, the show thing, setting up shows and going around the country and that. And during that time, I worked with a couple more rock acts. Are you familiar with the Amazing Rhythm Aces? Third Rate Woman? And look them up. See, okay. I'm giving away my age. But so I went from there to an advertising agency because I had done so much buying from a media standpoint, radio, television, print, you name it, I was doing it. And I worked for a company called Saatchi & Saatchi.
Yeah, I know Saatchi & Saatchi.
I worked with them for probably 2, maybe 3 years. This was in the mid-'80s.
One of the biggest of all time.
Yeah. Then I literally got into the broadcast business by helping a banker friend of mine out of a mess. And basically, I took over a television station radio group that had 3 television stations, 2 radio stations that were Fox affiliates. And I did that for, 15 years. Then I got back in the music business. We sold the properties. So about 2000, I got back in the music business again. In the last 20 years, I have been the head of 4 different record labels. One being, which is Plowboy. But I've been with Shannon 5 years. Well, there's an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's great. He is a true artist to me. Very eclectic and wandering and tattooed to high heaven.
He's smart, kind, very kind person.
Yeah, he is a good guy.
He's
sensitive, empathic. I think that and he also, I appreciate that he champions music that might be considered underdog, which is so great.
It is considered underdog.
Yeah,
and it's what's so great.
Yeah,
I've told people this is I've been fortunate throughout my whole career to work with really good things. It could be songs, it could be artists, it could be companies, and I'm real lucky that basically I'm going to be finishing out whatever I do with the rest of my life with Plowboy, and that's pretty interesting. And how can you do those different things? Is Shannon's different, and like you said a second ago, he champions stuff, but he really, really likes it, and so do I. I love the Dead Boys. We got them. Richard Lloyd. We've got a band that's what we're calling a baby band now, but they won't be. They're called the Bad Signs. They're great. They live in East Nashville, and that kind of talent is moving around. It's not, well, you know what it takes to be a talent, write hit songs and all that. It's not easy. Try to keep your head in the game and not get bored. I find a lot of people that I've worked with that are really talented. They got bored, and they misplaced 6 months or a year. You ever misplaced time?
No, I haven't. I have too much to do.
Watch out there.
No, I've got way too much to do. It would be hard for me because I do so many different things that I've
been noticing that. You're like a circus. So you're doing all this, the big top, and all this stuff's going on. Now, are you based in LA or here?
I would say both. I'm Nashville and Los Angeles.
So you're splitting it up.
Yeah. Not during COVID times, but when I can travel freely. I love the weather in Los Angeles. It's been a godsend with being isolated. At least there's sunshine, and the ocean.
Have you been able to get out much at all?
Yeah, for sure. I went and looked at the ocean just the other day. Just sat on a rock and stared at it, which was wonderful. And there it was. I go for walks, and I go to the grocery store, obviously, but I don't have a social life at all.
With this pandemic, at least with me personally, is here comes a pandemic. Ben's got cancer.
Yeah.
And I went, wait a minute, this can't be right. I've lost some time somewhere and, misplaced the time. But when I found out that I had cancer, I found out because my shoulder hurt. And that's what brought me, and that was from, I love to play golf. And I had been out to Arizona and played a little my wife and I love to play together. And so when I got back, my shoulder was bothering me, and I was going, wow, this started to get more uncomfortable. Went to my physician, and he recommended me over to a specialist. Specialist goes in. This is a shoulder specialist who I know. I actually knew the doctor because this doctor had the misfortune, now he's an orthopedic guy, of having to call me up on the phone and asking me to come into his office to tell me that he wasn't in charge of the battleship. He said, obviously I'm a surgeon and all that. Those are tumors, and you have cancer, in my opinion, and you need to be in Vanderbilt right now. Boom. 48 hours later, I was being operated on. So I was already, I guess the good news is, well, the pandemic didn't get me, didn't make me stay in. The cancer did, So it was.
Had you a history of it? Did you have you ever had cancer before?
Not a bit. Not sick one day in my life. I'm one of those people.
And what kind of cancer is it?
Liver, and it's in my spine. I have 4 active tumors on my spine that they're trying to slow down. Obviously, they want to stop, but they want to slow it down. I had a major surgery. I was out for like 14 hours because they had to get as much as they could out of my back in the tumor. But the amazing thing about this is the primary cancer is cancer in the liver, but it has stabilized somewhat in the last 4 months, that it hasn't progressed. It's there. But my whole physical problems and limitations that I have right now are the tumors, and they're the secondary. That's usually what happens, is a cancer wants to get out and party and the rest of the body. And that's what it's done. So, in this, I've got, I forget how much metal and titanium in me now. I have to go get a card to fly again because I'll go off. Hasn't happened yet because I haven't traveled. And I'm traveling. I'm getting out of here.
When they gave you the diagnosis, did they give you a terminal diagnosis, or did they say this is beatable?
Well, I guess the honest answer for that, and this is on the doctors, in my particular regard, I think at this particular moment, 18 months is what I think they think that I have. And I think they're about right. And I'm only judging that by how I feel physically, where this has gone, the medications that I was taking, the amount of radiation that I've had a lot of radiation, like about 40 treatments.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and I've lost 60 pounds, and I've gained 9 of that back in the last 2 weeks.
Do you have medical marijuana to keep you hungry and things?
I've smoked pot my entire life. Yeah, I smoked that. Unfortunately for me, because I've been a pot smoker so long, I don't have the munchie effect as lots of people do. My doctors have me taking a steroid that causes my appetite to generate more, and it's worked. But I can't take it. I can probably take it another couple of months, and then I have to back off of it. But yeah, I tell you, the not eating thing and what's happening to me personally from a taste bud standpoint and all that, strange, weird. Like right now, right here, it's totally numb.
Your face?
Yeah, right here. Totally. I mean, that's a nerve that's setting off from the tumor.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I can get around. I'm kind of on a cane a little bit, not much. I don't feel like I'm dying.
What happened when you were given that information? I mean, that's got to be. Well, yeah, I mean, we're all dying. We know this, but to get that definitive.
I told Steve this the other day. When Steve first found out about it, I said, "Look, Steve, none of us are getting out of here alive. We're all gone. It's just a matter of when it happens. Nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure that the more pain that you have from an injury or a disease might give you some intuition as when that might be, just because of pain. Pain is a funny thing. But I told him that, and whenever the guy that I still feel the baddest for is the orthopedic surgeon, him telling me. Then when I went in, then I had about 24 hours before I went to see another, an oncologist. And the first thing the people said that when I checked into Vanderbilt was, we don't know how you're walking. I went, what? This tumor, evidently it was just huge. And it was affecting my walking mechanicals. But I didn't know it. I wasn't wobbling. But it took me probably a good week to process everything that had just happened, because I didn't have, it was like, boom. Okay, Ben, got some bad news here. I'm your orthopedic surgeon, but you got cancer, and we need to put you in Vanderbilt if that's where you want to go. I said, of course. I mean, you're not going to get any, from a cancer standpoint, any better than those people. That's what they do, their primary thing. And, then to process, to find out how bad something was, where does this, I spent very little time trying to figure out why I have cancer. Doesn't matter. Now, if I ran up on this 2 years ago, I might be a little bit better off. But, I'm not, it is what it is. I mean, my wife had to, it's been hard for her because, she's a lawyer, has a law practice. We've both been very busy, active people. But I dealt with it. I've been one of those people all my life that odds are odds. You can go bet in Las Vegas all day long. You're going to lose a bet. So I've spent every bit of the time that I have trying to keep up with people that I haven't. We keep up with each other, but we talk to each other a lot more than we were. And bless their hearts, a lot of people, they're doing that with me. I'm not having to chase them around. Feel sorry for me. I'm not having to do that. And, I'm reading a lot. And I'm watching a lot of film and, the stuff that we do, stuff you do, stuff I do. I find myself that I've got a lot more time to invest in that. But then the big question is we've been waiting now for this to clear up for a year, especially the music business. And, promoters are getting killed out there, and musicians, and, And I don't know.
Are you a religious or spiritual man?
I'm a spiritual man. I don't like religion. Doesn't really interest me other than the historical parts of it. My thing is always, we all got a soul, no doubt about that. And, spiritually, I try to be kind, understanding of everybody, which is so hard to do, because I'm sure it's hard to be understanding of me. I mean, I can be a gigantic pain in the ass, very quickly. At least that's what my wife said. But, I grew up in the Southern Baptist Church. And then the next place I ended up was a Methodist church. And then the next place that I ended up was at Spiritual Ben's place. I just, I pray. There's been a lot of people praying for me, I know, and that's important. And I felt that. I mean, literally, I can tell when that's going on. But yeah, I'm a believer. I'm just not. A lot of different religions and types, to me, I don't understand. I hadn't been able to get my arms around it completely. But I think, just like everything else, a whole lot of time spent thinking about money. And, I think if you're spiritual and you're kind and you're forgiving, then that means you need to be helpful. That's where I'm at. There.
Have you felt a sense that you've released a lot of burdens then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm ready. I'm prepared. I'm not scared. Of course, I never was scared to death anyway. But I'm prepared. I think whoever I need to make my amends with, whoever that might be, I think I've done it. At least I feel like I have. And who knows? I might be sitting here talking to you in 4 years going, would you have thought that I'd still be talking to you 4 years later? And I was talking to you about, religion and da-da-da.
Have you thought about what happens when you die?
I haven't given a great deal of thought to it. I think the only thing that any of us know is the lights are going out and they're not coming back on unless they come back on the other side, whatever the other side is. If there is another side, I tell you, I mentioned Billy Joe Shaver earlier. He knew. That guy was about one of the most religious guys I've ever known. Literally. He knew. He had it down. There's no doubt in my mind where he ended up. He's that kind of guy.
Are you actively participating in the plan for your death? I mean, I think a lot of us make wills. We sort of offhandedly mention that I want to be buried, or I want to be cremated, or I want to be turned into a rock, or all that stuff.
Well, I said, because my wife is a part of this. Yeah, I'm going to be cremated. I don't need to take up any more space than I need to. I haven't made up my mind if where I want those ashes to be or if they're going to be spread. Everything from a financial to all that's already figured out. So I don't have any of that kind of stress. And I see that kind of stress on people's faces when I'm at Vanderbilt. And they're in there for the same thing I am. And they're I can tell. Don't walk up to them and ask them, "Hey, are you stressed out now that you're going to die?" I can see it on their face, or when you're talking to somebody just for a second. Times back. Of course, it's been difficult with the pandemic. You're shouting 6 feet over. How you feeling today? Feel like you're ready to go? If you die.
What have you learned about yourself that you maybe didn't know in that news? I think that it would create some sort of an epiphany in some situations, but you sound pretty grounded. But
well, I think I'm probably discovering or learning more about this daily. Is I know I'm going to die. I have kind of an idea when. I'm not scared. I've got a family that loves me, and it's going to hurt them so badly. And it's so, that's what I shed tears about. I've got 4 grandchildren. The oldest is 18, and then there's an 8, a 7, and a 4. And I've got 4 children. Of course, they're all grown up now. You got any? Are you married?
No.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Love can be a pain in the butt. Really can. Remember that. Write that down.
I will write that down.
Write that down. But, I guess whenever I get those thoughts about that, I guess that's what I'm thinking about more than anything else. I'm thinking about them. I know they're thinking about me. And as far as I'm lucky in the sense that everything that can be figured out right now is figured out. I want to be cremated. I already know the music that's going to be played. I've already had 3 people I know that are going to play at my. It's not a funeral. It's going to be what do they call that?
A celebration of life.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're pretty good. Everybody knows who they are. It's going to be a big surprise. I hope you come.
I would be honored.
Yeah, be sure and RSVP my funeral.
I would be honored to be there. Do you have a plan of anything that you maybe always said, I'm going to do blah, and you never did, and now you've got 18 months to go somewhere or do something?
Fortunately, I've just about done everything
that is good.
I could want to do. I've had a lot of things that I've done I didn't want to do. No, I can't. There might be one down in there somewhere, but I hadn't found it yet. Mm-hmm. The thing is being in the entertainment business, it takes a lot of that stuff off the table, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's just like, okay, well, you find somebody and you say, okay, what can I do? If there's anything at all that you'd like to do, blah, blah, blah. Who would you like to meet? Well, I can honestly say there's not one single musician or singer that I want to meet that I hadn't already met. So that's kind of off the table for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure, there's authors. I see you read many books. I
love books, yeah.
I do too. You see that way?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I am. There's a basketball goal.
Oh, yeah. I see that.
Yeah. My office got turned into a romper room with the pandemic. Speaking of the pandemic and being isolated and that, I was also real lucky that I managed to see my grandchildren. We kept it that tight. That right. Nobody got sick.
Have you been inoculated, the vaccine now?
I get my first shot. What's today? Tuesday?
That's what they tell me.
Next, not tomorrow, but the Wednesday after next.
Okay,
because
great.
I have to go in and be isolated. See, that's the other thing about this. It's you don't get out much anyway, but this kind of puts another umbrella's worth on it, to go get out. I haven't been to the grocery store in a year.
Wow. You're not missing anything.
I know. And luckily, you get everything delivered now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm curious, if you're an active dreamer, have your dreams changed at all when you're sleeping?
They've changed at all since when?
Since you've been diagnosed, have the dreams changed at all?
When I sleep? I literally sleep and my dreams change? Yes, and that's wild that you answered that. You asked that question. Yeah, they have. They some of them are like a Kurt Vonnegut movie, and some of them they're historical, but historical in regard to me or someone in my family or a group, and it's real detail. It's almost, a dream's a dream. I figure, how long are the igniters on a dream? 10 seconds? 15? I don't know. I've had some people try to tell me, but it seems like my dreams are longer and they're more precise down to, it's almost like there's been a movie directed here, So that's yeah. You're the first person to ever asked me that. I've had a whole lot of questions about it. Just in general, people wanting to know what's going on.
How are your little grandchildren? How are they accepting of it? Death, to explain to a 4-year-old, is a lot different than an 18-year-old who has an entire life ahead of them.
Well, where's that?
Well, not that a 4-year-old does too, but the concept of death,
The 18-year-old definitely knows that I'm going to pass away. The 8 and the 7 and the 4, they know I'm sick. Now the 8 and the 7 probably know I'm sicker than that. I think they think that I think they know. The little 4-year-old she's a little princess. She's the only girl in the grade.
Oh, lucky.
She's the baby. So
yeah, that was me.
There you go. See, hold that ground. There it is. Hold your ground. It's the best place to be, because I've got her spoiled. Anything she wants, she gets. So,
are you writing any letters or legacies for them to, life lessons that Grandpa imparts?
Yeah, I've kind of noodled that around for a while. I've also had, I don't know if I'm going to, I guess for lack of a better word, a memoir that goes way back, that probably first entry 77, 78, from paper to typewriter to whatever what was that go between laptops? I can't remember. I've got so much, computerized junk that you'll never use. Why do I keep it? I don't know. I guess it's because I'm one of those old dudes, so it's got to stay over here so somebody else can throw it away eventually for me.
Sure.
But I'm going back and thinking about the dreams. Like I said about the Kurt Vonnegut thing. You know who he is, right?
Absolutely. One of my favorites.
I tell you, I've had a couple that were like pretty intense. The color, all that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had one wake me up yet. But, interesting fellow. Most definitely. What else do you read?
Oh, gosh. I read everything.
You write.
Yes.
You still writing a lot of songs?
I write my fair share. Yeah. But, and now I'm doing the screenwriting. I just sold my first screenplay. And I am doing sketch comedy writing as well. I have a partner in that. And it's great. Loving it. We're developing a show that is really funny and woven together. I'm excited about it. At least I think it's really funny.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, you all have some good ideas.
Thanks. So Jessica and I, that's a difference. So my sketch writing partner, Tiffany, we're writing this other thing, and then Jessica and I have ideas together. That's the person of.
Yeah, I've kind of sorted it out.
Yeah.
That it's good to have a lot going on.
I think so. Life is short, as you can attest.
It's like the more irons that you got in the fire, the more likely you're going to get burnt. I'm into getting burnt if it's successful. A successful burn, you know what a slow burn is? 10 years, series, 500 episodes, all the residual money. Man, that'd be pretty good, wouldn't it?
Would not suck.
Suck at all. Yeah.
So one thing I'm curious about, like, I think if I were to die tomorrow, for whatever reason, I know, and I asked this question on Facebook the other day, do you have secrets? And everyone, I think maybe Save Two said yes. And do you have secrets that you will keep through to the grave, as it were? Or do you feel like at this point, what's the point of that?
The couple that I've got have to do with television. I mean, there's a lot of other secrets. I mean, it's funny, my children, they think they got secrets from me. I think that's because there's no way. I'm just, I know more things that they think I don't know about.
As you go into treatments and do all this stuff, I personally believe that it's possible for people to communicate from the great beyond. So have you, just in case, do you and your wife have any kind of, all right, come see hi or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, I think we're probably at that stage. If there's a way that we can figure out, I mean, I'm sure we'll try. We'll give it a shot.
My dad and I have conversations like that. I said to him, like, okay, let's figure out a word or a thing that only you and I know, right. and that'll be our thing, Yeah,
there you go.
Well, Ben, this has been such an interesting and great conversation. I really appreciate your time, and I
appreciate your time.
I'm acutely aware how precious time is, especially for you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can do some other things too. I can help you guys.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I haven't had a chance to talk to Steve or Shannon about it. Because my treatments now are, as they say, well, I can't radiate you anymore. You're already glowing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down that chemical highway that a lot of people go.
The chemotherapy?
Yeah. After I was operated on, then the next thing was to figure a plan of action of how do we beat this down? How do we get rid of this? Which, I found and discovered that doctors and hospitals, they have a hard time with that. They can't, you know, they're in funny positions, but I really don't think that, at least you would think that they would have more data with liver cancer and how it spreads than they do, but they don't. And it's kind of like, it's not a priority cancer. I don't know why. I know that sounds weird, but I've had both my oncologists tell me that. And I just say, well, why do you think everybody's got liver cancer? Because they drink a fifth of whiskey a day. What's the deal here? I was given, and I participated in, a drug called Avastin, which is a straight, stone cold cell killer. Every cell that gets in front of it eats it. That mixed with an immuno drug that protects the immune system as much as it can from this. Imagine somebody's going through a forest and they're cutting down trees, and you've got somebody running right in behind them planting saplings.
Yeah.
Not going to do me any good, but maybe 50 years from now, that tree will be standing up that was cut down to build somebody's house. But I did that treatment for 3 months, and it made things worse. And that's just a chance that you take. And they brought another medicine drug that they wanted me to look at taking. And so I'm a data guy too. I believe in numbers.
Yeah.
If you have numbers that are legit from wherever you're trying to discover from or generate whatever it is you're trying to do from, that's important. And when I sat down with them and I said, okay, 1 to 10, percentage wise, what is it? Give me all the information that you can find, or any of the data places that I can go and discover, retrieve, find out, calculate, to tell me what the odds are based upon the data that's in hand. Well, this was about 20%. I'm going, okay, I just went through 60-pound weight loss, being uncomfortable, because I was going to tell you, I feel better right now than I did a month ago. A month ago, I was coming off this medicine, and I'd gotten real weak. I'm having to rebuild my muscle. It's just gone.
Yeah. Well, cancer treatment takes people within, and that's the irony of cancer treatment. They have to nearly kill you in order to save you. Right.
Absolutely. And so the doctors that I have, which are oncologists, they totally get it. They know. Plus, they knew that I was walking in there, and they figured out that, just tell me, if they would have come up with something that was more in the 50% range, probably would have got my attention a little bit more. But to feel the way I did on the last drug, I just wasn't ready to go there. And so I've come off that, I feel better. I don't really know what that means. I just know that I feel better.
Well, a quality of life when you have such little time left is important.
Yeah, and and luckily for me and these oncologists that I have, they understand that. Things could be a lot worse.
Sure.
And I see people when I go into the hospital, I see people that things are worse.
Well, are you scared about what's coming? Because you will progress. Things will get worse for you. Does that freak you out?
Well, more than likely, what's going to happen with me, what's going to make the end and prior to, is I will probably, if the tumors, if we don't get them stabilized, meaning they're not growing any more than they are right now, then as long as the tumors continue to grow, it's going to affect my spine, and it will eventually paralyze me in different places. Leg, arm, back. And at that point in time, pain is really inset. It's really in. And, it'll be a hospice thing.
Sure.
Thing, I was trying to think of a guy, and this is awful, I can't remember his name. Hell of a songwriter, was in a duo, Irish name, Jamie O'Hare. Do you know Jamie? Jamie, hell of a songwriter, hell of an artist. He died 6 weeks ago. He was 70. Exact same thing that I have. And put him in hospice, and, put him on the drip. He could take care of what he was doing. And, you pass away in your sleep. So that's where that's how I'm thinking I'm going to go when the time comes.
Do you think about that too, when it gets to be an unbearable kind of situation, or maybe even just exhausting? The idea that, there is the right to die in a few different states. When my uncle was passing of cancer, certainly the hospice people said, there are options that basically they were sort of wink, wink, nudge, nudge with the morphine kind of thing. They couldn't quite say it out loud, obviously, but
it can be done. It can be done. Not to name names or medical facilities, but I've been told the same thing.
Yeah. So I feel like that's merciful to have a dominion over one's body in the face of a cruel act of betrayal, really, is something, Yeah.
It's
a last stand, if you will.
Yeah. I think if there's a right that anybody should have over themselves, it's that. Especially when it comes to, look, I'm what is it? I have, when you walk up to somebody and they go, so you've got stage 4 liver cancer, right? Yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm still trying to figure out what 4 stages are. And this is the first question that, it's kind of thrown at me by, their friends. Some people just don't know. They don't know how to take it. One of my best friends, bless his heart, he's, he's 70, 71 years old. He can't even get on the phone and talk to me sometimes. He'll start crying. Yeah. And he's a big-hearted guy. But I have to tell him, Tommy, stop it. And this ain't helping, man. Okay, well, I'll make fun of him. Yeah. But hell, I can make fun of him.
Death is hard for people. And my friend Tim Johnson, who passed away of cancer a handful of years ago now, he wrote a song that called "God Only Cries for the Living."
Oh, wow. Good title.
Great title, yeah. And the thing is, the people that are left behind that have to grapple with the understanding of what it all means and face their own mortality within it, face the loss of physical touch and conversation and all those things, Yeah.
Well, my wife and I, we love each other very much. And we made what you just said, we've made sure that one thing that's in the mix is, we're the same as we always were. We're affectionate to each other. We're touchy-feely people. We like to hug each other because we love each other. And, that's important, and it helps.
Yeah.
But one thing that I know I've seen from other people I've known that have this, a couple of people that have done it, is the last thing you can do is shut yourself away. Start doing that. I mean, that's when you start making other people's lives miserable. And it really, I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but I wouldn't want to be in the position they're in, worrying about me.
Right.
Yeah. And as you say, when it gets to family and all that, hell, it's impossible not to worry or feel that way.
Sure. Ben, I really look forward to meeting you in real life.
Come to Nashville, get your serum.
Ben, thank you so much for your time and for being for being honest and open about this space that you're in, because it's really lovely that you are willing to share it.
Well, I'm glad you listen. You're a good listener.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a great wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Bye.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Rate and review Hey Human on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks. Bye.